Welcome everyone to another CTC software webinar. My name is Sean Zerbis, Technical Evangelist at CTC, and today I want to take you through everything you need to know as an end user of HIVE so you can use it as effectively as possible. So let's take a look at something here. Eventually, HIVE is going to get installed on your computer, and you want to know the ins and outs of how to browse it as efficiently as possible. Well, I'm going to go through this webinar today, live, in front of you, and we're going to take a look at how to search and filter, how to save your searches, how to get the best possible usage out of the HIVE environment. Now, this is a recorded webinar, so you can always come back to this in the future if you want to get refreshed on how to use this. And also, today throughout the webinar, I am, of course, as always, watching the questions window. So if you have questions in this live webinar, throw them in that window, and I'll try to answer them as I'm getting to that step, or go back and answer the question if it's relevant to what we're talking about, and make sure that you get everything you need. Okay, so what am I going to cover today? There's a few things. How do you access the HIVE content browser? That's an important thing, right? Like, how do I get it? How do you search and filter the content once you have it pulled up on screen? I want you to also understand exactly how you can save and reuse your common searches. And there's a few other things that I'm going to throw into that as well, like how to favorite things that you use frequently and how to recall those favorites and stuff like that. And then also, I want you to understand, once you've found something, how to dig into and explore its details so you can make sure you're loading into your project really what you need and not more than that. So you're keeping your projects nice and clean by just loading in exactly what you want. Now, before I dig in too much into HIVE itself, let's just explain why we're looking at this solution in the first place. Like, why don't I just load families the way that I've always loaded families? Well, really, there's a couple of problems with this. Files, there's just so many of them, right? Like, we've got tons of families, and they can be all over the place. And Windows file structure really kind of changes with the wind. Whoever the BIM manager is, they might want to change the structure to fit what their needs are. Maybe you've got multiple versions of families and different directory structures, and so that file structure can be kind of a pill sometimes to actually navigate through. And all too often, just the file name isn't always enough to identify what it is exactly you're loading. The file name and the image, sometimes the image is good, sometimes it's not, but it isn't always enough to identify what's going on. And then what's more, especially with how we're dealing with things right now in our world, I really don't always have the easiest time accessing these files when I'm not in the office. If I'm out and about, if I'm working from home, I have to VPN in all the time. And that's frustrating because then my access is really slow and my already slow navigation is even slower. All of this, when HIVE is set up and available to you, is generally a whole lot easier. So instead of me talking forever about this, let's just go into a live demo and see what it looks like. So I'm going to open up Revit here. Oh, well, that's really not good. My license is gone because I did something screwy on my computer. Hopefully this will work well enough for what I need right now anyway. Maybe I'll just open up a different version. We'll find out here in a minute. Oh, I know why. It's because I'm not signed in to BIM 360. That's why my license is gone. I need to get signed in real quick here, guys. I apologize about that. This is always fun when you get signed out right in the middle of a demo, right? Like, that's great. Okay, so we're in Revit. And before I even open up a project, maybe I want to use HIVE to start my project, because I can find my templates in here too. So what I can do is go to the application menu of Revit. I can go to the CTC software tab. And over here at the far right side is the HIVE CMS, this icon right here. Now, if my presentation wasn't open right now, it is, so I can't actually get to my desktop because my PowerPoint is up. I have an icon for HIVE on my desktop as well. And regardless of, oh, it did sign me out. Haha, that's fantastic. Thank you, Autodesk. That's lovely. Regardless of where I am, I can open up HIVE here, which I already have open, before Revit itself is even open. And I can be using it to search through things. And while I'm using this HIVE, maybe I've opened it from my desktop icon, maybe I've opened Revit, and then I open HIVE. It does not matter. Maybe I've got 3 Revits open. Fantastic. Good for you. you can use the same single instance of Hive across all of them. And really, I've got Revit 21 open now. I want to find a template so I can get into a brand new file. I want to start something brand new today in front of you. Let me start by even showing you a saved search. So if you want to run a saved search, there's two different ways you can choose to get to it. You can go through the home page here. There's 4 tiles on my home page. One of them is saved searches. And when I click on saved searches, I can see all of the saved searches that are available to me. Some of these have this little building icon with multiple people on it. What this means is that it is a shared search. This means somebody else in my company created it and shared it, and I have access to it. So I can use their shared saved search, like this one here, my templates that are available for my company. I can click on that and it'll run a search. If it doesn't have the icon, that means it's my saved search. And I'll show you how you can create that here in just a minute. I saw a message here that there is no sound coming through. Can you all give me thumbs up if you can hear me? Just checking. Oh yeah, y'all can hear me. Okay, good. So there's one person who didn't have sound. That's good to know. Thank you. All right. Back to what I was talking about here, shared searches. I am going to run this saved search here. Now I showed you how you can get to it from the home page, right? Home page. There's the 4 tiles. I'm clicking Save Searches. I can see all my searches. I can even filter through my saved searches. I'm trying to find something specific. If it's longer than 1 page, click on the one that I want to run, and it'll run it. There's another way you can get access to your saved searches. And this is my preferred way, but you can get access to it either of the two. I'm going to drop this list down right here. This will always be on screen. Even if you're in the middle of a search, whatever, you can see this drop down here. This does not have a search built into it, though, like the Save Searches here does. This is just a big old list. It will scroll if you get too many of them, or more than what this page can show. But there's my templates company right there. I'm going to run this Save Search here. When I run this, it does a few things for me, and I'm going to show you how you can do these things manually in a minute. I just want to get into a project real quick so you can see what's going on. This searched a specific library. I have 5 libraries that I can access as this user Joe. And so with these 5 libraries, one of them is templates, and it actually selected that as the only library to search. It is searching everything in that library, and that's all that it's doing. I think that's all that it's doing. Oh no, there is one more thing. It is also only showing me Revit content in this case. That particular shared search was templates for my company, but Revit templates specifically. The person probably should have named it that, but they just call it templates company. It's looking at everything in templates that is specifically Revit content. All of that was set by me clicking that one button, and it gave me the results that are relevant to what I'm doing right now. I don't have to know anything else about this. Well, for right now, so I can get into a project real quick, here's my template, the A21 Starter Project Detached. I'm going to open this up, and it's going to give me a brand new project file in my Revit environment. So I'm going to double click on this. It even prompts me right away to detach this from the central, which is part of my instructions there. It takes care of that. It keeps my work sets because that's how it's been set up. And ultimately, this will start me in this project. It'll probably give me some options here in a minute. There they are. Which work sets it is I want to open. I want to open all of them when I'm starting this project out in this case. But it's going to put me into this environment where I can save a brand new file and then begin doing whatever the work is that I need. I need to take a quick tangent for just a second here because my template has no floor plans. So I'm very quickly going to use one of my other CTC Express tools here called View Creator to let me run through real fast and just build a few floor plans in front of you so I don't have to make them from scratch by hand. That looks good. We'll create these views. I've got 20 new floor plan views to work with, and I'm going to go to the general level 1 floor plan. So I'm drawing with proper settings here in front of you today. Okay, so let's take a look at how else I can use Hive and why I would want to in the first place. The BIM manager who set this up for me, they created a very clean template file. So when it is time for me to go and draw some walls or some doors, because I'm in an architectural template here, when I go and try and draw some stuff, my walls list right now is just a few generics, which is great in early design. But since they didn't know what kind of building project it was I was going to draw, they didn't know what wall types to give me. And instead of giving me every conceivable wall type ever, they've given me 4 generics that I can use to start with. So we'll start drawing something. And, because this is the world of architecture, we can't just draw boxes. That's not right. So I'm going to go ahead and put an angled face on the front of this building. I'm kidding, guys. I'm kidding. All right. So I've got this layout, and now it's time for me to insert maybe a door into here. Well, if I go to the door command, there aren't any in my project. So I would have to go through the normal Windows browsing process to find them. If I answered yes to this, I have to go try and figure out where the proper doors are by browsing through a bunch of folders. That's not what I want to do. What I want to do is use HIVE for this. So I'm going to clear the previous set of filters here. Once you've run a search, especially using a saved search, it's usually a good idea to make sure you clear your filters, because if I try to search for doors, it would have been looking in the templates library, and that might not be what I want. So I've cleared my filters out, and now I can search for anything. And in fact, what HIVE did is it quickly refreshed and gave me a search of everything in all libraries. That might be a bit more than I want, but that's okay, because I'm just going to go up to the top here, and I'm going to type in something like single door. And as I type this out, if I give it a second, it'll eventually refresh. But for right now, in fact, there it is. I just had to move the window here. It'll give me some things that match what I've typed in, single and door, and it gives me, the top 5 or 6 options here. If I was just to type in, say, the word door, it would come back and show me the content that matches door frame schedules, things that have been searched before, but also it'll give me Revit categories. And if I click one of these, it will directly search everything in my library that is of this category. It'll actually go into the filters window and set that for me, so it's only looking at doors. In this case, I'm going to cheat a little bit and just type in single door, because I think I've got quite a few of them at my fingertips, and we're going to see what comes back. See, it's looking at the information in all of my content, and it comes back with some things that are relevant. Now, it found single door overhead, looks like a piece of casework or something, and single door cabinet, because those file names directly matched single door in this case in some form. But it also found me door single panel. And so it found me this, and it found me door passage single flush, and a bunch of other single doors, and a bunch of other single caseworks as well. Now, if I want to, I maybe search single door. It didn't necessarily know that I was looking for the door category, because I just put in a general search string. Think of this a lot like searching Google, right? You put in some search criteria and it does a search. It might come back with Amazon. It might come back with Amazon, shopping results or whatever. And you might click that link and it'll bring you to the Amazon page that just ran a general search there, right? This is searching through all of your Revit content real fast. And it comes back with things that are theoretically relevant. This is relevant. It doesn't read my mind knowing I'm looking for doors. It looks for the name in this case. If I want to really filter this down, I can. I don't have to, but I can. If I know this is what I want, I'm just going to bring this into my project right now. In fact, I'll do that. I won't do any more filtering. Double click, come over here to my project. It actually comes up with this little window that says, hey, what do you want to bring in? Now, this particular door, this particular family, if I drop this list down, you'll notice that the BIM manager at some point gave me a 2018 version, a 2019 version, and a 2021 version of this door. Now, by default, since I'm in Revit 2021, it probably makes the most sense to just let my Revit version sit. And I'm going to ignore this for the most part. And I'm going to choose some types out of this door definition that I want to bring in. I pick this guy and this guy, or whatever ones I want. And I can load those types. But think about this. If you're working on a project, I just started one brand new today, but if you were working on a project that had been running for 2 years, maybe it was started in 2018, or maybe it was started in 2017 or whatever. Maybe you want to load that older version of the content into your project and you don't necessarily want the new one. Well, you have that choice right here. You can choose the 2018 version and load that definition in, because maybe it had some features that were specific to your project. If you know that, fantastic. If you don't, whatever. Load the one that comes up by default, which will be the most relevant per your Revit version that you're in right now. You can ignore that and just choose the types you want. Or, I mean, if you really wanted to be lazy, you could and just hit load all types and have all of these come in if you think you're going to use everything. But again, the purpose of Hive is to let you bring in only as much as you need, which helps you keep your model file size down, which means your models over time will respond as efficiently as possible. Okay? So I'm going to bring in just these two. Load those two selected types. It's going to bring them. Oh, did I eventually choose the 2019 version? I might have had that chosen. That might be my fault. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and just drop that door in. And if you notice here, it brought in just the two. It brought in just the two that I asked for, and I can start inserting those into my project wherever it is relevant for me. Okay. I'm going to go back to Hive, and I want to show you something else you can do. Now, you all are probably using more than one monitor at a time. For today's demonstration in front of you, I only have one monitor that I can show at any given time. So my Hive is sitting on top of my Revit. If I was using this in production, I would probably pull Hive to my second monitor, and I would use it from there, but then you couldn't see it. So when I put Hive on top of Revit, every time I access Revit, you'll notice that Hive gets covered up. And to me, especially for today's demonstration, that's going to be frustrating. And for you, if you only have one monitor, maybe you're working from a laptop at a client's office or something, at a coordination meeting, you may want Hive to stay on top of everything. So this little push pin right here will force Hive to stay in the foreground. And what I'm going to do is configure my Hive so that I'm only seeing like 3 results of content here, maybe 4 results of content. Maybe that'll work for me. It's really whatever you want. Maybe I have it go, full height. Maybe I pull it to the left a little bit so I can access properties. I don't know. Up to you how you position this, but I'm going to leave mine like this pretty much for the rest of today. And it's going to stay on top of Revit. So when I go back to Revit and I click on things, Hive is going to stay in the foreground. It won't go away. So I always have it at my fingertips. And even if this is on a separate monitor, I might do that. I might pin Hive to the foreground. Now you can unpin it if you want to. It's going to go to the background then, right? But pin it to the foreground. Now, Hive is not a dockable app. And I want to show you why that is. It's not dockable on purpose. You might notice here that my design app is set to Revit 21. Many of us throughout the day have to have multiple sessions or multiple versions of Revit opened up at the same time. Hive is not bound to this one session of Revit. In fact, I want to show you this live. I'm going to open up Revit 2018 right now, a much older version of Revit, 2018. As this opens up, because Hive is pinned to the foreground, I want you to watch what happens here as 2018 loads, okay? Give this a second. Revit's really slow to open, guys. We all know this. Revit takes forever to open sometimes. Different versions are faster than others. But as this opens up, notice how Hive has already updated, and it has now both of my Revit sessions at my fingertips. Now, if I wanted to show you some things from Revit 2018, I have to be in a project, right? I can either open up an already existing project if one was available to me, probably by using the open command, or let's go and rerun that same saved search that I ran earlier, templates company. As I run this, it's going to rerun the exact search, templates, everything that is Revit content. Now, you might remember from before, when I ran this search, I had way more than just 4. Right? If I switch this out for Revit 21 and I just refresh this, let's see what happens. Yeah, I've got 8 options in here. And that's because my Hive library has 2019, 2020, 2021, all kinds of things available to me. But if I'm looking at this from the point of view of Revit 2018, I cannot use the 2019, 20, and 21 content. It won't work. Revit won't even open it. And Hive knows that. So this Hive window here, automatically when I search something within the context of Revit 2018, it goes, oh, you can only use 2018 stuff. So I can open up that project. And notice how it opens the same way. Detach from Central, preserve my work sets. It's going to come out here, find that file, open it up, let me choose what work sets I want. Like all the things that I would normally do in Revit, I can do, but this just makes it that much faster. Okay? So I'm not going to go through the whole exercise here of, building all those floor plans again, but same thing. Let's say I wanted to draw some walls out here. If you remember, my walls list right here was just the generics. Let's say I wanted to bring in something real specific. So maybe I've already done that building outline that I had from before, and now I want some actual type A interior partitions. I know what my company standards are generally. I want to look for an interior wall or a type A wall. Let's say I search that. So I'm going to clear my filters. I'm still doing my work here in Revit 2018, and I'm going to search for type A, and let's just see what shows up. I'm not telling it walls. I'm just typing in type A and seeing what comes to the surface once this search is run in relation here to Revit 2018. And if you notice here, right at the top of my list, because of what I've searched and because of the relevancy, my type A walls are showing up. Now I get a lot of other things that somehow match the word type or A or whatever, but I found what I was looking for. My type A walls are right here. Could I filter more? Sure. I haven't shown you how to filter yet. I showed you doors before and I mentioned filtering, but I haven't shown you how you could do it. Let's just say I want more options for walls exclusively, and I don't want to filter through all these other results that aren't relevant to what I'm doing. Well, I can click on filters. And with filters, I can go down to my Revit categories and tell it that all I want are walls. That's all I care to search, and let's apply that. When I run this now, my type A stuff is still at the foreground. It's right up here at the top. Other types of walls are now showing up in my list as well because they have the name type, or they are walls, or they somehow match A or whatever. So I've got more options here. But primarily, type A has floated to the surface because of how my settings are configured. Now, if I want to load one of these, say I want my type A 5-inch wall, or this type A 4 7/8-inch wall, whichever one, doesn't matter. Pick a wall, double click on it, bring it here into my project. Those of you who are in the know and have ever tried to load a wall type before, you know that can be a little bit tricky, right? Because it's not just insert load family like it is for your doors, right? It's not just me browsing through a library and finding a wall type, because walls are not normal Revit families. They're what's called system families, and the only way to transfer walls from one project to another in the safest possible way is to open up some other project that has those walls that I want in it. Now that project could be large, and it's like opening up a second project in the same session of Revit, and then I have to go here to manage and to transfer project standards, and then there aren't any other projects to transfer from, so it's not going to work for me. But if I did have another project open, I have to transfer project standards, browse it, check none, so I'm not getting anything else, then go down to walls, pick just walls, and bring in the walls from that other project. The problem is when I do that, I get all of the walls. But in this case with HIVE, you might notice I told it to bring in the type A 4 7/8-inch. I searched for type A. In this case, I also filtered for walls. But I found what I was looking for, double-clicked on it, and it brought it in directly. I did not have to open up any other projects. I did not have to use that other command to load stuff from another project and to get a whole bunch of garbage I wasn't going to use. I very laser focused on exactly what it was I wanted. I searched for it in HIVE, found it. Maybe I needed to run a little bit of an extra filter to limit it down to just walls if I got way more than I was expecting. But once I found what I needed in a matter of less than 60 seconds, I was able to bring that into my project instantly. I want to tell you something about this. All of my content is coming from the cloud. So, like many of you, I'm working from home, and I don't have to be connected to my main network in my office to find this stuff. I'm not VPN'd anywhere. I'm just double-clicking on this from HIVE. HIVE is pulling it from the HIVE cloud, bringing it into my project in a matter of seconds. I can bring another wall in. You want me to bring in the type A 4-inch? Let's do it. Type A 4-inch. Grab that wall, bring it in. It will initiate the draw walls command for me once it brings it into my project. It takes a few seconds. Grabs the wall, brings it in. I now have this wall here live in my project, right? All good. Super simple for me to create that, and this is now specifically the type A 4-inch. You bring in what you need exactly when you need it. Okay? Now remember, if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to drop in the next thing, another door in this project. This is my 2018 project. I have no doors yet. If I was to search for swing single or single door, nothing's going to show up. And the reason why is because I have a walls category filter. I wouldn't find any doors because HIVE's told to look at just walls. So whenever I'm going to go to my next search, I'm probably going to want to check and probably clear my filters here. Clear filters, and then I'm going to search for let's say swing single and just kind of see what shows up. Different search term, but I probably will still get my doors. This is going to run through and search all libraries across my entire company, everything that I have access to, out of the box, corporate stuff, everything, and it finds me a door. In this case, here's that door single panel that I inserted before. But let's load a different one. Let's load this guy, swing single, RFA. I'm going to load this into my project over here. Doesn't really matter. It's going to give me, again, version selection, in this case only 2018 because I don't have 2019 or 20 available. I'm in Revit 2018. I can only load that kind of content. I can grab the things that I want, be very specific about it, load just those types. You've seen me run searches here now a couple of times. Oh, this view site plan doesn't show doors. That's fantastic. Guess I do have to create a view. We'll just create a level 1 view with the view creator, because why not? It's super simple to do. So we're going to do general for new construction and add those and create the view. Okay. Oh, 2 views. I guess I checked second level as well. All right. So now I've got that door inserted into my floor plan, and it's just loaded the ones that I've asked for, those 2. Okay. I also need a door schedule. In my project, I only have a room schedule. The door schedule wasn't here, so I'm going to do a search for that. Let's just search up here, door schedule, and kind of see what shows up. I don't know what the BIM managers have given me in my library. Now, for me, normally to get this, so I've loaded a family already. That was kind of used if I needed a new one by using insert load family. I've loaded a wall type into my project, which normally you'd go to manage, transfer project standards after opening a project for that. This schedule is loaded a different way. See, Revit's got 3 major different ways of loading content. I would have to go to the View tab, and you all have probably done this quite a few times. Insert tab, insert from file, insert views. And I'd have to go browse to a project that has my schedule and bring my schedule or my sheets or my typical details in that way. Well, HIVE has all those things. It's the same search that I've been running for everything else. I just searched door schedule. I found my door frame schedule. I want to bring this in. I double click on it. It comes over here. It actually creates the door schedule in my list, and it fills it out with the information from my company. See, this makes my life so easy. I don't have to go to old projects and grab stuff. I can go to HIVE and know that I'm getting the stuff that my BIM manager wants me to find. The basic search, most of the time, you're probably just going to run a simple search here, hit enter, let it come back with results. If you really want to filter more, you can. I can say only search my corporate library, only search that for a door schedule, or only search that and apply a few other filters, like only look for a certain category of object like schedules, or like sheets, or like you name it. You can filter for it in here. If it exists in your HIVE library, you can filter that Revit category. It makes it so simple for you to find whatever you want. Now, what if you find yourself doing the same thing over and over again? You're constantly searching for single in your corporate library, or maybe the corporate and out-of-the-box libraries, and you're constantly going here to filters and choosing the door category because, wait a second, where'd it go? I clicked away. I moved my mouse stupidly. Filters, thank you, door category. Here we go. Doors, there we go. So you're constantly doing this, and you're applying that over and over again. The 2 libraries, the single, the filters, the doors. If you find yourself doing the same things over and over and running those same searches multiple times, right? What you can do is you can save this. So I can save this as single swing doors, and just save that, right? I'm saving that search, and now that is available to me in that same saved search dropdown I had here. Now you might notice there's already a single swing corporate doors here. That's a corporate saved search. And I could have used that if I'd have known that was there. I can always drop this list down and look at what's here. But this one, the single swing doors, this is mine. Notice how it doesn't have that little icon after it? I control this. I can change this whenever I want to, refine it, make it my search. feel free to do that, guys. This is here for you to leverage these saved searches. So if I run that search, it's going to run the exact thing. The two libraries, the search of single, and the two filters, the doors filter that I asked it for over here. And just as quickly, I can go back and search my corporate templates. I can search MEP sheets, right? Whatever's got those properties. I can search single swing doors, my single swing doors, and get the exact results again a second time, and not have needed to go here, check 2 boxes, type in single, go to filters, make the choice. If I'm doing this over and over again, man, just save it. Just save that search, and then you can come back here and you can do whatever. Now, let's say you wanted to refine this search. You're like, oh man, I put the wrong thing. I didn't want to search the out-of-the-box stuff. I only wanted to search the corporate library part. Well, great. Let's uncheck this. Let's rerun this search. Just enter here. Rerun the search. It's going to research. There's only one result here, and that's okay. It's giving me back from my corporate library single, that is doors, right? It's doing that thing. I'm going to save, and I'm going to overwrite my previously saved search. I'm just going to hit save. I'm going to use the overwrite option to overwrite single swing doors right here, because that's what I was just fixing. Maybe I even want to give it a description later. I don't know, but I'm going to save this. And now the next time that I run this saved search right here, it's going to search my library, my corporate library, for single and only give me back doors, right? You have full control over that. That's up to you. Any ones that don't have the corporate logo behind it, or the corporate graphic there. Okay. I did see a question come in about drafting views. Can I search for drafting views? Yeah, absolutely you can. Let me see if I have a saved search for this. No, I don't. Okay, fine. Let's clear all filters, and I'm going to search for drafting, and let's just see what shows up. I'm being very generic with this search here. My start view is a drafting view as well, I suppose. Let me see. Let me go to Revit 2020. In fact, let me just change the context to Revit 2021, and let me just research drafting here. Let's say detail, maybe? I probably should have named my stuff better so that I could search for the word drafting. Well, let's do a search for detail. There are detail items, but there are also detail views. Let's just kind of see what shows up in Revit 2021, because that's going to give me access to every possible Revit version ever. We'll see what happens here. Go, Gadget Hive. With this, by the way, I'm just kind of taking a look back at the questions window. There aren't any other questions showing up. That's totally fine. Let me run an extra filter. I probably could have just done this a different way. I could have gone into here and looked for views, I believe. Yeah, views. Any views is what I want to look for. And let's just apply this and kind of see, and let's clear this out. Let's just search for everything. I guess I really only have drafting views. That's interesting. I thought I had more. But I guess that's what I've got access to in my libraries. Oh, I know why. One of the libraries that I put this stuff in was a library that this user doesn't have access to. It was an MEP library. They don't see it. Therefore, they don't have access to that content. I don't have access to that content logged in as this person right now. But yes, this can have drafting views. This is a drafting view. I could bring this into my project and it would exist here. In fact, let's do it. Bring in this start view. This is going to bring exactly this view into my project. This happens to be coming from 2018. Bring it in as a drafting view. You'll actually see it show up over here in drafting views detail. There's my start view. This is a Revit drafting view. You can bring in as much or as little as you want. Okay. Let's take a look at something else. In fact, I need to give this user some access to some things they don't already have access to, because I wanted to show you something very specific. So I am currently making sure this user has rights. All right, I am going to refresh this list. As easy as that, a BIM manager could give me access to a library. This user now has access to MEP stuff. And I wanted to do this because I want to show you some very specific abilities that Hive has. When I'm searching things like single door earlier, I was pointing out primarily to you file name stuff. But this time I want to search for something that's kind of a mechanical example. I'm going to search for Titus. And I want to see what shows up for Titus. Okay? When I run this search, I want you to notice very carefully here, there is nothing about this file name that says anything about Titus at all. If I scroll down lower in this list, there's actually some equipment down here. Nothing here says anything about Titus. And yet, this content was somehow considered relevant to my search. Why is that? When I just sort of Google search my content, the reason why this feels relevant is because of this. I want to show you about an extra page you can take a look at if you want. I'm making my window wider on purpose so I can expand this page. This is the details window, okay? When you pick on a piece of content, when I select this, this will give me more information than I already had. You don't have to use this page, but if you're interested in it, you can actually look at more stuff. And you might notice here, this particular piece of content has a Titus Performance PDF associated to it as an attachment. Down below, I can see that this is an air terminal. That kind of makes sense given the graphic. This originally came from Revit 2016. And if I look down here, there's a whole bunch of family types. And I can even investigate these family types here. You can see there's a bunch of parameters and values. A lot of these are very much the same down here. But I can search the parameter values as well and see kind of what shows up. If I type in Titus here, notice how the manufacturer is Titus. There's other things in here that are Titus as well. And depending on how Hive has been configured from my BIM management team, this may very well only be searching manufacturer, or it might be searching a few other properties. But ultimately, when I searched Titus here at the top level, it looked at all the properties of this family and this family and this family, and it came back with results that are giving me back stuff that matches somehow Titus. And it does it very quickly. Okay? So, yeah, I made this process super lightning fast for me to find exactly what it was I was looking for. And of course, I can double click and load this into my project. And of course, I can still be selective about the types I'm using. This window here is just giving me a little bit more information. Now, maybe you want a little more information, maybe not this much. Maybe you want to know just what the Revit category is by default on an object. And maybe what Revit versions are available for it, things like that, right? Maybe you don't want the full details window open, and that's fine. Everybody's got their own preference of how they want to view stuff. Up here at the top right, there are ways where you can change what kind of view you want, whether it be just the tile view, which is what I've been using for the demonstration today. My personal preference is just use the tiles. Double click, load things, I get more results that way. But you can choose to see this as a list view. And this will tell you things about the family, more than just the file name. Now I can see what the rating of something was. I can see what libraries maybe it's associated to, if I care, what tags maybe somebody has associated to it, like this has been associated to mechanical. It's also been associated with Imperial. I can see how many times people have loaded it, what Revit category and what Revit versions this thing associates to. If you care, by all means, go in there and show this stuff, right? I can even see here in this case that this is one of my favorited components. In fact, if I want to favorite this guy as well, I can right click and be like, oh yeah, mark it as a favorite. And then it shows a little heart there for me because I have favorited this content here. That's great, right? I can see some of that stuff. If you're maybe more of a managerial type and you want to see even more information, you can go to the table view for this and it shows you even more stuff. Now, most of you, probably, you're not going to care much about all this stuff shown this way. Most of us are probably just going to be looking at this in the tile view. We're going to squish our interface down as small as we can get it. Heck, we might even use this slider right here to change our preview image size to make it as tiny as we possibly can so that we can get as much on screen as possible. So, you know, you set it up for however you want it. These are your user preferences for how you want to see the stuff. And if you like using details, great, use details. I want to show you one more thing about this, about the UI of this environment here. I've been using filters here a few times in front of you, And every time I use it, I click on it, I do a thing, and then when I click away, it goes away. Now, I've become a big fan of this myself, but maybe you use filters a lot and you always want to see filters on screen when you're searching for things. Fantastic, you can do that. You can pin this filter pane open and it will always be there. It will cover up, or it'll actually change the size of the window here. So whatever's behind it now, there's nothing behind it. It's just a filters page and it'll always be here. So if you run a saved search like templates company, it runs that search and I can instantly see all the filter things. You can still clear your filters right from here, right? That's pretty easy. But if you do run something like the single swing doors that we'd made earlier, it runs the search in my library for single, and in this case, sets the filter for doors. That maybe is your preference. Go for it. Have this pinned open, and it'll remember that the next time you open the Hive window itself. If I close it, okay, if I close this down right now, go away Hive, there we go. When I go back to the Hive CMS the next time and it opens up, it is going to remember that I had that filters page opened up. So once this thing opens up all the way, go Gadget Hive, there we go. I'm going to go run that single swing doors search. Remember that? Hey, filters is right there, ready for me the next time. So there we go. There was a question that I saw roll in about custom icons. I will have to answer that closer to the end. I'm not quite sure how to answer that right now, but we'll come back to that. And by the way, there's a clear filters option here right at the top. Clear filters, clears it all out. You'll be using that quite frequently, so you can just clear that out. Okay. Final thing in this interface before I jump back over to the PowerPoint for just a minute, and then I'm going to go into full Q&A mode for you all. Feel free to queue up your questions right now and get ready to send them in, because I'm going to show you, I'm going to sit around and answer those questions as long as I can here. But I mentioned for just a moment there about favorites, right? You can right-click any piece of content, mark it as a favorite anytime you want to. If I click on Search Favorites, this is going to run a special search that directly searches favorites, your favorites that whatever you've marked across, in this case by default, all libraries, unless you've specifically filtered that down, but it'll run that favorite search by just clicking the heart right there. And this will look for everything in your library that you yourself have marked as a favorite. So whatever you mark, that's how you're going to do it, okay? And that's just a custom search that is bracket favorites bracket. Don't have to worry about that. Hit the heart. It'll run that search string for you. All right, that was the last thing, I think. Let's see, we've covered how to do basic searching. We've covered filtering libraries and using the main filters window. We've talked about clearing filters. We've talked about saving searches, so remembering all the filters and search strings you've put in and how to update those if you want to. We have talked about marking favorites by simply right-clicking and marking, or removing in this case from your favorites. That's also how you can remove it. Searching your favorites, all of the things. Pinning Hive to the foreground, removing the pin, all the stuff. Changing how your tiles view, either by using tile or list or grid, whatever it is you want. You control all of that to make this something that makes sense for you. Okay, like I said, queue up your questions, because I'm coming back to this. What I wanted to do, I got to unpin Hive or else my PowerPoint won't go to the background, or won't go into the foreground. So let me just talk about a few things. Hive allows you to search everything. You might notice that today I was completely ignoring folder structure when I was searching in Hive. Hive could care less what folder something's in, really, for what you're doing as an end user searching for stuff. It searches everything independent of folder. It searches all of the data of the files, including custom tags, custom parameters in the file. It searches everything. So when you're running your search, just know you're not just looking at file name. This gives you back real relevant information. This content that I was looking at, this may be available in the cloud per your company's settings for however your BIM manager set it up. So you may not even need to VPN into your company to find this stuff. I opened up that template. I was loading wall types, door types, schedules. I could have loaded sheets. I could have loaded anything. And I didn't have to VPN into my office at all. And really, this is the key here. pretty much everything you do, you search in the same way over and over and instantly get whatever it is you found dropped into your project when you need it. So this makes it so easy for you. And also, you might have remembered back at the beginning when I was searching in Revit 2021 and then Revit 2018, it understands the context of Revit. And it also has the ability to filter out for just Revit, which you may have noticed, again, when I was searching for my templates. I didn't point this out yet. I may as well do it right now. Let me go back and research my templates company, which is going to search that thing again. Templates, everything, only giving me back Revit content. But I'm going to uncheck this to show you that Hive is not only for Revit. Notice here I've got a PDF, I've got a Word document, Excel file, a document template file, right? This goes way beyond just Revit. So you can, your company or your BIM managers or your content managers, they can put into Hive all of the things and make all of this available from the cloud if you want to. So you have real easy access to things like custom imagery, materials if you want, AutoCAD content, Revit content, Word document stuff, project correspondence templates, you name it, it can go into Hive. So while Hive does allow for Revit specific use, it doesn't force you to be only Revit specific, and that is key, okay? So because of all the stuff I've talked about, I'm sure a lot of questions are mulling around in your mind right now. I want to open this up to questions. Now, I understand if you have to go, you may have to jet. I get it. Thank you for the time you've given me. I hope this was really informative for you today. I hope that this helps you use Hive to the best of your ability. But if you can stick around, I'm going to go into full question and answer mode here and start taking a look at every single question in detail that I have not already answered, and we'll go through that. So there was a question about kind of a BIM managerial type question. Does the preview image functionality in Hive remove the host? And I think that was related to when I was over here searching some mechanical equipment. Nope, that wasn't it. Let's take a look at, let's clear this out. Let's search for Titus again, because I think that's when the question came up, was when I was searching Titus. Revit families in their native environment do have host objects, like this one right here, the face-based host object. The answer to your question is yes, I can configure my preview generator so when the content is first put into Hive, that the host does not show up. This content obviously was not processed that way because by default, that's what I do. An example of this would be if I go to, I'll use my save search because it's going to be faster. I'll use my swing single corporate doors here. Notice how I don't have the hosted wall. That's because my preview generator took away the wall. So I don't have to have it graphically displayed. That was done by default. In fact, if I search for all out-of-the-box single doors, every one of my previews is identical from all the out-of-the-box doors. They all have the wall taken away. And yes, your preview settings can do that for you. That's a little bit beyond the context of this. If you want to see more about that, one of our previously recorded admin webinars for Hive, how to administer Hive, talks about exactly how to do that. Can you add custom icons to the left black side menu? Oh, this menu here. Ah, I see. I wasn't quite getting what the question was. No, this is a fixed menu. This is locked down. There are 4 potential icons that can show up here. I'm right now signed in as an end user, so I only get 3 of those 4. If I was signed in as a BIM manager, I would get the ability to add and manage my content through the add icon button here. So no, this you cannot control. This is locked into the core programming of Hive. However, I will say, if there are things that you feel belong there, options you would like to have, I strongly encourage everybody when they're using Hive as a whole to go to the feedback button right here. Okay, feedback button right here. You see a whole screenshot of my whole 3 monitors I've got set up, but you don't have to include the screenshot, but definitely give us some new feature requests, or it would be nice to have a thing and describe what it is you want. Be as detailed as you can to tell us more about what it is, why it is. We're always open to user feedback. We watch your feedback like a hawk. so that we can go in here and build in the features that you have asked for. So if you want that, let us know why, let us know what, tell us more about what kind of value that would add, and we will always consider that kind of request. And for those of you who aren't asking for BIM manager type controls, great, that's perfect too. If you've got, I want HIVE to do a thing to make my life easier, ask for it, we're all about it. Okay, next question here. The Design App tab doesn't show on yours. How do you make it show? Great question. This Design App thing here, this will only show when you have Revit opened for right now. There are plans to integrate other design apps, but this right now only ties into Revit. You may have noticed when I opened up Revit 2018, it refreshed with that. If that does not work for you, something got screwy with the install of HIVE. Oftentimes what happens is people might install HIVE while Revit is still open. Don't do that. Revit needs to be closed to install any kind of add-in. HIVE is technically not just a Revit add-in, but you do have to have Revit closed. If the design app is not showing up, there are two things I would like you to do. First, check the version of HIVE that you're using. The latest version is 21.0.3. If you don't have that, go get it, shut down all Revits, update to 21.0.3, or have your BIM manager update you to 21.0.3 if you don't have the rights to install yourself. If you already have that, then you will want to reinstall HIVE, uninstall it, reinstall it, because something screwy happened, and if it's still happening, then what I would do is I would use, again, that feedback, report a bug, maybe capture that screen showing that Revit is opened, but the thing is not showing up, let us know, because it's expected to be there, right? That is a part of the core functionality for HIVE that has to be there for it to work the way you want, but that's what I recommend is potentially uninstall and reinstall the HIVE because something didn't get hooked up with Revit as we would have expected it to. Okay, can I talk about searching other types of content that's not Revit content? Yeah, absolutely I can. In fact, the way that I generally do that, oh, I closed my HIVE. That is lovely. Well, let's just open HIVE back up here again. The way that you can do that basically is simply to clear the Revit filter there, or the only Revit content filter. In fact, if I just search here, let's say shared. If I search shared, shared is going to come back and search everything in my library. And because it's not only searching Revit content, right, it comes back with a bunch of PDFs. Now these PDFs, I happen to know this. You don't know this because you don't know my library, but if I go to list view, you'll notice this is in my library standards and procedures. There are times when I am searching for something that I limit my search to standards and procedures because I know that I, as the BIM manager, have put all of my, well, you might guess, standards and procedures in this library. So whatever somebody searches, if they have that library filter set, whatever they search, shared, or let's say I put in print, I don't know if I have any printing documents in here or not, but whatever I put, I guess I don't, but whatever I search for here will show up, whatever exclusively is in this library, and there is no Revit content in this library. It's only PDFs. Now my templates, you may remember here, if I go and search for everything in templates, it has more than just Revit templates. So I have PDFs, I've got Word docs, I've got estimates, I've got letterhead, I've got all kinds of things in here. And so I can get stuff that is outside of the Revit world. And sometimes what I will do, if I want to help laser focus on some of these things, is I will leverage tags. You can, as a BIM manager, you can create tags and let your end users associate them, or you yourself can associate them. In this case, Joe does not have the ability to associate tags to this content, so I can't actually modify what tags are here or assigned. But if the user did have that right, say I search for my corporate single doors, right? I may not have rights there either. Let me search MEP sheets. Yeah, I think I don't have rights for that at all, actually, the ability to modify tags. So because of that, this user doesn't have that ability to actually associate or disassociate tags from content. But BIM managers do have that ability, and then that would make it so that if I was to filter for a specific tag, like standards or lead in this case, or whatever, when I search for that, and maybe I've got a corporate safe search for that, when I search for that exclusively, maybe I'm searching for lead inside of standards and procedures only, and I'm looking for everything there, I don't know what's even going to show up, if anything's going to show up. Yeah, nothing shows up because nothing's tagged as lead. But if I had that and I had documents or other file types tagged that way, I can save the searches or I can search by that. That's how you can get that search. Okay. Or again, just a text search up here, a basic search of everything. If I'm not filtering, for, oh, that's why, only filter Revit content. Let's get rid of that. What shows up? That's still nothing. Okay. I don't have any lead documents. That's fine. Anyway, yeah. So let's see. Is there a maximum storage limitation? So again, kind of a BIM manager question about this, but is there a maximum for how much you can store in the HIVE cloud? The answer is no. No, there's not. You store as much content up there as you want. There is a limitation in one area. There is a maximum file size limitation for what actually gets put into HIVE. And for most people, it doesn't affect them, but the maximum individual file size that can go into HIVE is 150 meg in file size. You really wouldn't want more than that anyway. In fact, that's even on the high side because that affects how fast users can get it. They have to first cache download that 150 meg file before they can even do anything with it. So HIVE actually optimizes all of its project hosted content so that it's super tiny. That's how I'm able to drop my walls in. The warehouse in which I store my walls, the file that contains all of that, is about 150 to 200 meg in file size. But my walls, when I put my walls or my typical sheets or my schedules or you name it up there into the HIVE environment, it actually optimizes it and makes little micro files. So you'll probably never upload a file that's more than 150 meg. If your template is bigger than that, we should probably have a conversation about how big your template is and why it's that big. By using HIVE, you should be able to get really tiny templates. Something sub 50 meg. Okay. Can you have a hyperlink as an item in HIVE? You know, that's a fantastic question. I've been asked that a few times. The answer is yeah. Yes, you can. What I will usually do is make a hyperlink or a shortcut icon on my desktop or in a folder someplace. In Windows natively, you can make a shortcut to something, and that can hyperlink to a web page. You can hyperlink to whatever you want, and you can add that thing into HIVE, and HIVE will make that thing searchable, and you can tag it, and it can have properties, and I can search string it. Yes, you can. My current HIVE does not have that, so I can't demonstrate that for you, but yes, you can do that. Does HIVE work in and with AutoCAD? It does. It's not perfect yet. It doesn't have design app specific functionality. That is on our roadmap, but it does not directly function as well as, say, tool palettes in HIVE does yet. We're working on that. That is absolutely on our roadmap for making it do that. But yeah, it already does function with AutoCAD to some degree. You can drag and drop Lisp routines into AutoCAD, for example. It'll load and run them if they're set up that way. You can open AutoCAD files. You can use blocks and things like that. But that's the extent of what it does. It doesn't do like all the layer controls and other stuff. Like it's not as advanced as other things are, but we're getting it there. Okay, there was one final question that I saw roll in, and I'm reading it live. When we upload content from an older version of Revit, does HIVE automatically upgrade the content at that time of upload? Or does it only upgrade it when you use it? That's a great question. Again, I would direct you to the videos that we've already got for HIVE. You can get there by going to the About and Videos button here. There's a BIM management kind of video that I've already put together that talks a lot about how stuff is loaded and when it matters. But the short answer, when you're throwing families, Revit families, RFAs into HIVE, it opens it in your active Revit session. In my case, it would be Revit 21. It upgrades it temporarily so it can scan it. It scans all the information, and then it generates a preview image, and then it closes the family, and what it uploads is the original definition of the family and whatever the original version is. That means when I drop that content into my project, it does the quick one-time upgrade. Quick if my families are optimized, slow if they're not. But it'll upgrade on demand. Now, you may have noticed when I ran searches here, let me run that saved search again. Out of the box, single doors is a good example of this because I've got plenty of extra versions of out of the box content here. This is going to run this search. When I click on this door single panel right here, and if I look at its details, you'll notice that this door has multiple versions associated to it. When you update your content or upload your content, you can load the same family as a BIM manager from multiple different versioned directories, and your users will still find the one thing, the one family. HIVE in the background knows which version then is the most relevant for them. So you might remember, as I was over here in my floor plan, and I was dropping that door in. Let's load one that I have not already loaded. This one has 16, 18, 19, and 21. Those are the 4 versions that I have loaded. I'm in Revit 21. As I drop this door in, when it loads it, by default, because Revit 21 is the most recent version, it's going to use that. And as I actually load this into my project, it'll load whatever the types are that I have selected. It looks like I still load my old one in this case, but it's going to bring it in and drop it in there very quickly, right? It loads that in. I might have rolled my wheel or something goofball there. If I'm in Revit 2018, let's do the exact same thing in Revit 2018. Same exact door, okay? I'm going to load this in. HIVE. Did I grab the wrong door? Oh, no, there we go. It just took me a second. Notice how HIVE is only presenting me 16 and 18, same door, even though there's the 19 and 21 available. It defaults me to the one that's closest to my Revit version, 2018. So I can pick whatever I need, load that, and I'm off and running, right? But it should be loading the one that is the most relevant version for me. That's the intent there. Okay. Haven't seen any more questions roll in just yet. So once again, I want to throw out a thank you. If you do have other questions, feel free to get a hold of us. Definitely, if you're having issues at all, leverage that feedback option right here to throw feedback our direction. We definitely want to make sure that you're up and running and working as efficiently as you can. So, yeah, let us know how we can help you out. But again, thank you for the time you've given us today, and we look forward to seeing you in future CTC webinars. Catch you all later.